Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So today in this session, we will be discussing about the audit committee, the roles, responsibilities of audit committee in audit, like while appointing the auditor. What are the roles of audit committee and those charged with governance? We will go through that in this session. So I will denote those charged with governance with TCWG. So TCWGs are the person who are responsible for the oversight of strategic direction and accountability obligations of the entity. It includes oversight of the financial reporting as well. So, who may be included under this audit committee or TCWG? So, it may include the member of the legal structure such as board of directors or external parties such as government agencies or management personnel. Government structures vary by entity, reflecting influences like size and ownership characteristics. In most of the entities, what happens is that governance is collectively responsible for the governing body of governing bodies. So often a subgroup is created, such as audit committee is created, who may be charged with specific tasks to assign the government body in meeting its responsibilities. So I hope you understand that TCWC are the person or the group of person that may include board of directors, management or government bodies, and they are charged with certain responsibilities. Certain responsibilities. So here auditor generally reports to TCWG, or the responsibility of auditor is to report to the TCWG, to the higher management, to the audit committee. In general, TCWG refers to the board of directors and more specifically to audit committee. So generally speaking, if you talk to board of directors, then in general companies it refers to the board of the directors. But in bigger size firms and bigger size companies, there is a specific audit committee to whom we refer TCWG. So, who are the audit committees? Audit committee is a subcommittee there's a subcommittee in the company which is made up of members of board of directors who are not the officers or employees looking after day-to-day operations. So there are a board of directors who have role and responsibility to look after day-to-day operations, but the board of directors of the audit committee are the person who don't have the day-to-day operations task or day-to-day routine task. It's all outside and independent directors. They are the independent directors and they are not influenced by the management and by the policies of the company. They are independent one. So what is their key roles? Their key roles are oversight of the entity's financial reporting, internal control and internal audit function, appoint overseas or external auditors. So they are the ones who oversight the financial reporting and they are the ones who appoint the auditors, external auditors. So, good governance principles suggest that auditors should have access to the audit committee as necessary and should periodically meet at least once a year without management present. So, good governance practice says that audit committee and auditor should meet at least once a year without presence of any management personnel, because it might influence the decisions, it might influence the reports. So it is suggested that at least once a year audit committee and auditors should meet in private without influence of anyone, without presence of anyone. So, what are the auditor communications that is done while the meeting? So, auditor's responsibilities with regard to the financial statement, foremost and basic, scope and timing of the audit as planned, internal control issues identified, and significant issues identified from the audit. What can be the significant issues? If we drill down the significant issues, then it can be significant difficulties encountered during the audit, uncorrected misstatement if any, management and auditors disagreement if any, views of auditor on qualitative aspect of entities financial significant accounting practices, other findings or issues, and when not all TCWG are involved in the management. So these are some of the examples of the significant findings that auditor needs to communicate to the audit committee that they have faced during the audit. What are the few further communication we should be considered? So they are that the few consideration are it should be two-side communication. It should be both-sided conversation. Even TCWG should communicate and respond uh, appropriately. Even TCWG should respond to the questions and to the queries and to the issues that auditor has identified. Communication should be in writing. It is not mandatory, like it's the most preferable and most proper way to communicate, that every communication should be in the mail or in the writing, unless the matters are small and can be overcome by verbal and oral method. So it is always preferred to have the written communication and written conversation with both the parties. And communication with the management. Before communicating matters with those charged with government's, auditor may discuss with the management or internal auditors unless that is inappropriate. Besides recognizing management responsibility, this initial discussion may clarify facts, issues, and given management an opportunity to provide further information or explanation. However, it may be inappropriate to discuss some matters with management, such as fraud involving senior management, questions on the management competency and integrity. I hope you understand that it's a general practice that we can discuss with the junior team members and the management for our normal queries or our any issues we are facing, but we should be of skepticism mind, and we should not discuss with them the frauds or any significant issues that have been done by management, which may influence the reputation of the company, which may have the impact on the reputation of the company. So we should be mindful while talking and while asking any questions with the management. So now we will discuss in detail the things that auditor communication should include. So firstly, I told you that it should include auditor's responsibility with regard to the financial statement of audit. So what does this mean? So auditor is responsible for conducting the audit as per GAAP. So to obtain the reasonable assurance about whether financial statements are free from material statement or not, will communicate any significant deficiencies or material weakness in internal control that come to the attention of auditors, but no assurance on internal control unless it is integrated audit. We should be mindful. Auditor of the financial statements do not relieve management or TCWG of their responsibilities. Although the auditor's report affirms the auditor's independence, in certain situations, auditor may determine that it is inappropriate to communicate with the TCWG circumstances or relationship that, in auditor's professional judgment, may reasonably be thought to be bear on independence, and to which auditor gives significant considerations in reaching the conclusion that independence has been impaired. Now discussing about the scope and timing of audit as planned. It also include any significant risks identified. So we should give careful consideration when communicating the planned scope and the timing of audit, so as not to compromise the effectiveness of the audit by making the procedures too predictable, especially if TCWG are the managing the entity. Matters communicated may include how the auditor proposed to address a significant RMM, whether due to fraud risk or error, auditor's approach to the internal control relevant to the audit, including whether auditor will express opinion on ICFR or not, application of the materiality in the context of the audit, any planned use of the work of the internal auditors. Other planning matters that may be appropriate to discuss with TCWG are views of TCWG about the matters relevant to the financial statement, attitude, awareness, actions of TCWG concerning actions of TCWG in response to the development in laws, accounting, corporate governance, actions of TCWG in response to the previous communications with the auditor. So these are some of the best practices and the best practices of communicating and keeping informed to the TCWG, keeping informed to the audit committee, and keeping informed to the management about the scope and timing of the audit that it might take, that we are planning to do. So if it is integrated audit, it might take certain extended time because we have to give an opinion on the ICFR also, but if it is not integrated audit, then comparatively it may take the lesser time. So depending upon the circumstances, depending upon the significant risk identified, and depending upon integrated audit or not, all the timing and nature of the audit is identified and finalized. So if internal control issues is identified in an audit, then auditor should communicate in writing, specifically in written here. It should be in writing to the TCWG on timely basis. The significant deficiencies, like what are the significant deficiencies that we have identified in the internal control, and the material weakness that happened to be identified during the audit. So significant deficiencies and material weakness that we have identified, because these two are something that might impact the results of the financial statement, that might impact our audit procedure, that might impact the nature timing of the audit, and that has the crucial role in our audit. So we should communicate the internal control issues identified in the audit in written and as early as possible. What if there are significant findings and issues from the audit? So significant difficulties, if any, encountered during the audit are significant delays in the management provided, requiring information, unnecessary brief time with the which was required to complete the audit, extensive unexpected effort required to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, unavailability of the expected information, management not providing information on the plans to deal with the potential gain or concern issues. So these are the significant difficulties that we might identify during the audit. If there are any uncorrected misstatement that auditor have identified and informed the management to correct, but if it still persists that it has not been corrected, then it is one of the significant difficulties that we have identified. Management and auditors disagreement. There may be certain times and certain cases that the opinion of the auditor does not match with the management, or they are not agreeing to the process, or they are not agreeing to the auditors thoughts and auditors practices. So there might be certain cases where management and auditor have disagreements in the opinions, in the views, which might lead to the significant findings. Another point can be views of auditor on qualitative aspect of the entity's significant accounting practices, including accounting policies, accounting estimates, financial statement disclosure. Other findings or issues, if any, arising from the audit that are in auditor's professional judgment, it might be one of the process that auditor might identify using his professional skepticism. So it can be one of the reasons. And when not all the TCWG are involved in the management, auditors should also communicate matters material corrected misstatement that were brought to the attention of the management as a result of audit procedure, may also communicate frequently requiring immaterial misstatement. Please note all these points. Significant findings or issues, if any, that were discussed in the management, auditors view about significant matters that were subject to the management consultation with other accountants on accounting or auditing matters. Representation required by auditor from the management. Auditor may provide a copy of management representation to TCWG. So these are some of the points that auditors should keep in mind. Even auditor and management both should keep in the mind the roles and responsibilities of the audit committee, TCWG management, the timely communication, the significant findings, the significant issues that may have, the reasons why our audit can get extended, the reasons why there will be disagreement between management and auditors, the uncorrected misstatement and even corrected misstatement, and if any misstatement is occurring repeatedly, all these points should be taken careful consideration. It should all form the part of our audit, and it should all be documented and written. The most important thing here is everything should be written. Every communication should be in the written format, and in the not in the verbal one, because it acts as a proof, it acts as a documentation part of our audit. So I hope you gain a lot of confidence on this audit committee thing and all the nature timing extent of our audit, how our audit gets impacted. So in next session, I think we will discuss the planning audit. Like we will begin the audit, and the first process is planning the audit. How do we begin the audit? We will cover that in the next session. If you have any queries, do let me know in the comments. And thank you for staying connected. Bye.